Welcome. Come on in. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for I think it's our sixth or seventh episode. Boy, I don't know. We've lost track now of Patterns for Success. My name is Bobby Lambert. I'm the director of bands at Wando High School in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and I also head up the uh, marching band, the Drum Major Institute at Music for All for Symposium. I forgot, I was thinking about my guest, and I was like, wait, they separate us out for just a little bit. I hope you're all doing well. This has been the last week of classes for many of you, and I hope that things have kind of settled in just a little bit, and you're getting excited about not necessarily having classes that you have to go to each and every day. We have some really exciting news for you. We talked a little bit about it the last time we were together, but we're going to talk to you about what the summer symposium is going to look like from Music for All. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you stay around for that. Want to first of all start with thanking Music for All for hosting this for us, and Cecily Yoakum. We all know Cecily's been with us from the very beginning, and Anna Johnston and Audrey Wessinger from Wando High School are going to be with us. So if you have any questions at any point through this webinar, just simply put them in the Q&A section down below, and they'll take care of them, or they'll ask us in a certain way, and we'll be able to answer your questions while we're speaking here. I'm really excited to have today with us one of my dearest, closest friends in all of the world. This is Mr. Jeff Young. He works
Hi,
at
everybody.
this little school in Carmel, Indiana. Yeah, he works at this little school called Carmel, Indiana. You may have heard of them from time to time. They do okay when they are performing and competing, either concert band, marching band, or one of their monstrously large jazz ensembles that they have. Their winter guards are incredible. I mean, just a wonderful program from top to bottom. Jeff actually is a graduate of Carmel and has been teaching back there, and is not one of the band directors. Actually, I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself when he comes on. But Jeff heads the marching band side of the Summer Symposium, and has for what now, Jeff? Is this like 8 years or 9 years?
8 or 9, yeah.
For doing the summer. Yeah, I thought so, because I thought you were 1 or 2 years more than me. And that's an incredible camp. When this all goes away and we can go back to those camps, that's definitely one that you want to attend live. But we have some information about how you'll be able to attend this summer in person, not in person, but being able to get and interact with some information that's there. Just wanted to start the show off with just a little bit of some info. Jeff is great at making online content and making it look great and making it educationally sound. So I wanted him to come on and talk with us about how we may do that for our peers, but also just what is out there. How do you find some information about marching band? But before he does all that, Jeff, why don't you tell everybody who you are, let them know what you do, and especially what your day job is.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to virtually meet all 37 of you right now, and however many watch the replay. I live in Carmel, Indiana, and I kind of have a unique situation. I get to teach the marching and movement and dance and choreography part of marching band, but during the day I teach anatomy and physiology and international baccalaureate biology. So that's my day job. I was a biology major at Notre Dame, and I majored in curriculum and instruction at Indiana University, go Hoosiers. And I came out and got a chance after a few years to come back to the school where I went. And that's a really neat opportunity. Those of you who are going to be teachers, it's really neat to be a teacher at the school you went to. Now, I graduated with 550 people. I think the graduating class at Carmel this year is more like 1,700 people. Giant school. I think 5,500 was our total enrollment this year. But
that's awesome.
I also started a company called Dynamic Marching in 2005. And we provide videos. And if you go to dynamicmarching.com, right on the front page, you'll see the COVID-19 free stuff. There's a little button right on the front page. There's all sorts of things that you can watch for free, at least for a week or so more, if you're interested in learning more about teaching any part of the music or visual part of marching band. Now,
well, he's not going to say very much about this, but I have to tell you, the way I met Jeff Young was probably now almost 15 years ago. Being at Marian Catholic, I ended up having to teach visual, and I'd never really done it that much. And so I wanted to find great resources about how to teach that were high and instruction, and that I found was dynamic marching. So I knew Jeff through that company for about, gosh, 6 or 7 years before I ever met the person. And if you haven't ever looked at the dynamic marching website, I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit invested in there because I'm part of it now. But I have to tell you that there's some just incredible resources that are there for young band directors, older band directors, and student leaders that you would be really silly not to go and check that out as soon as this is over. So Jeff isn't going to tell you about that, but he's done an incredible job at putting all of those resources together and to offer them for free right now. I think as I looked at it, I think it was something like a $400 to get everything that's for free right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So you definitely want to go check that out. I'm sorry to have interrupted
Steven,
you there,
now it's
Jeff,
all
but
good. You always interrupt me. Bobby and I also do a podcast together called That Band Life, and we do this all the time. That's why I have all this gear sitting here. So, no, dynamic marching is a passion project for us, and it's not like a huge corporation where we're trying to make a lot of money. We're trying to help people, and we a lot of times we'll just roll that into the next project. For example, we just produced and taped and put out a color guard dance level 1 and 2 and flag level 1 and 2, and we're going to work on a leadership and drum majoring thing at some point too. So you guys all be interested in seeing that. Now, back in 2005, I had a very simple camcorder, and this that I have in my hand right now, this iPhone, is 10 times more powerful than the camcorder I first used to film Dynamic Marching Volume 1. And the most recent video that we did involved those big jib cams, where they have that big arm with the camera on the end, and then a film crew, and everybody had the same costuming on, and it was really cool. But yeah, I think you guys have noticed that during this COVID crisis, a bunch of people have figured out how to teach online video-wise. And I would say for the last 15 years, no one was even trying to do that. So
no.
If you guys can go out pretty soon and purchase something like this, this is a really cheap tripod. I think it's been in my family for 20 years. I just liberated it from some storage closet, and I bought this little thing right here, and it holds the iPhone. Okay. And so sorry about all the noise. So that's going to be really helpful this summer because we're probably not going to, at least at Carmel, I know we're not going to have in-person marching band until July. And we have a number of rehearsals already scheduled for June. So the idea is if it was going to be a 9-hour rehearsal, we're probably going to back that down to you're going to do these assignments online for visual, and then you're going to do these music assignments online, and then you're going to come do a show and tell or something like that, where we're going to build some sort of curriculum. It's not going to be 9 hours of stuff. But anyway, so what I started thinking about is how can I teach marching online? And it's actually been really fun to figure out. So some of you probably have something like Canvas, and I'm going to share my screen for a second, if you don't mind. Oh, if the host, Cecily or Bobby, can you guys allow me to share my screen, and I'll talk while that.
Cecily, are you okay with doing that? I think she's on it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be good to go.
Anyway, as I keep clicking the button, it still says it's disabled. But anyway, what I would have you raise your hand, but how many of you guys have Canvas? How many of you have Google Classroom? Okay. And then there's probably, yeah, we're good now. Okay. Okay. So here you should all be seeing my Canvas classroom from Carmel High School Marching Band 2020. And as you can see, this is kind of like Google Classroom or other things. Canvas isn't the prettiest thing around, but it's very powerful. So what I did is I created a module here. I've just named this something important because Chris Crakey will come in and give that another name. And then we're going to have a whole module here for music related things. This visual module, I spent a week filming and uploading and explaining all of our marching curriculum. Okay. So for example, if you look at, marking time, for example, I have 2 videos here. This is one of my staff members who is a he marched with Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps. His name is Julian. And he is just basically, we went to my parking garage here at my apartment building, and I just put a camera on a tripod and I said, okay, do this. And so each one of these videos is anywhere from 10 seconds to 37, 45. We tried to keep them very, very short. Now, what the goal here is that the students will watch these, they'll practice them on their own, and you can see a bunch of different views of this. And then I'm going to give them an assignment at the bottom of how to turn that in. Sometimes I'm going to ask them a question like on a Google form, how did this go, or how did that go, or describe what you learned from this. Other times I'm going to say upload a video. Now Canvas is really cool. It allows me to, when somebody uploads an assignment, I can look through the entire band really quickly. And so what I'm going to ask my students to do is I'm going to ask them to all stabilize. Remember this tripod, right? We're going to stabilize our phones, and we're going to keep them landscape, not portrait. This is a big pet peeve of mine as a video editor, is that you want to do things in this format, the side-to-side landscape, because that's what you edit in. The only time you really want to do vertical video is if it's going to end up on Instagram or Snapchat, especially in the stories and things like that. But anything you upload, try to keep it in this format right here. And also, I want you to try to keep it not in 4K. We don't want to overload servers and things by uploading these crazy big videos. And so as we go through here, I'm just going to, I'm going to present an exercise. The students are going to practice it. Then they're going to upload some sort of, formative or summative assessment. I also included in here some things that not everybody gets to do, but I get to pirate our own videos. So I put in here some of our stuff from dynamic marching, and obviously that's a little bit higher quality than you guys could do. But you guys probably don't have access to your band director's Canvas page, but you do have access to cameras and parking lots. And a really cool thing you could do is to go out with, socially distancing, of course, but go out and film every exercise that your band does, and maybe see if your band director wants that. They might not. They might want to do it
I think
themselves.
you could even do it. One of the things we've been talking about with this, Jeff, it could be kind of tough for maybe if the director doesn't have this kind of technology, maybe they don't use Google Class thing. Even just creating a Facebook group of this
I was going to get to
actually
that.
works.
Yeah.
But I think that there's nothing that would stop any student from going through and saying, hey, I'm the trumpet section leader. I know one of the toughest things we face every year is maybe backward march. Okay, so let's work on even just that one thing. Maybe you don't have to do the entire curriculum, but just having here is the one thing that I know we trumpets mess up a lot. Now, most trumpet players won't admit any of those mistakes whatsoever. But Jeff is a trumpet player, by the way.
Yes, I am.
But the reason I say that is because as you look at this, I think some students could become a little bit overwhelmed with all of the information there. But it's more a thing of even just doing one or two of these assignments for other people is exactly what we would want. That's exactly what I would want my student leaders to do. Any of this is great.
And I'm happy to share just the list of things I put on here, the ones that actually make sense to people without an explanation. But you can also make a YouTube playlist. That's
absolutely.
You don't even have to make it public. It could just be a playlist of a bunch of different things. That's the same thing. And then what we used to do with cadets, obviously the Cadets Drum Bugle Corps did not have Canvas. So what we did on Facebook groups is within the trumpet group, we would post how to do it. And then everyone would post their upload to that exact comment section of that video. So that way, all of the reply videos for the trumpets were after the one that the staff member posted. Facebook, that's one thing Facebook's really good for. I don't use it very much lately, but that was definitely good. But you could also use YouTube and just talk to people too. You could have them watch the video, practice it, call them up, text them, say, how did it go? What did you learn from it? What were some things you struggled with? How can I help? That kind of thing.
So Jeff, if I've decided, okay, I know backward marching is really tough for my section, and I want to create a video to help them do that. Start with me on step one. Where would I begin as a high school sophomore to do that project?
Bobby, I think that you would agree that skipping steps is a bad idea. And so, make sure that you don't skip forward to the like really fast step sizes, at a bit large step size, right? So we want to start with literally just standing in one place. How do we initiate the motion to move backward? And guys, it doesn't matter whether you're Santa Clara Vanguard or Wando. Everybody has slightly different techniques. What you'll see with the really good groups, though, is that the students are taught every detail of it until they know the details of it, right? So it's not just step off with your left foot and be in time. It's no. The leg is actually straight from the hip to the ankle bone, and we're going to flex the foot, and we're going to push away from our standing leg, and we're going to land 50% on each foot. That simple, very slow process is what you have to do for every skill. That's why there's 50 videos on here, not 5. It's not just the backward marching video. It's one step backward a little quicker, 2 steps, 8 steps. Okay, now we're going to do that in a slide. Here's what that would look like in a slide. Here's what that would look like in different directions. And so that's why it's broken down into so many small videos.
Well, I think that's important for you to say. I said earlier, should I do a 30-minute long diatribe of this? And I think as our students are watching this, you don't love it when a teacher just talks at you for 45 minutes. So don't make videos that are that long. Jeff, what would you tell people? What's a good length for really anything?
Let me just show one of these real quick. So what do you want to see? Mark time, posture, one step forward? What are you interested in?
I love your 50-50 exercise. I think it's one of the smartest things I've ever seen.
All right, so we're going to pull this out. This is a 33-second video, and we're going to just watch it for a second. Can you hear that?
Actually, Jeff, would you go back and when you share it, when you share the screen, you'll have to say share audio.
Okay.
So go back to share.
Share computer sound.
There it is.
Got it.
That's it, exactly.
Okay. So this is Julian again.
This is our forward 50-50 breakdown. One, two. Push point. Push in. Push step. Push in. Push heel. Push push point. Push in. Push step. Push in. Push heel. Push in.
Okay, so you can see there that was 30 seconds. There wasn't a lot of instruction on how to do it, but I also haven't finished this Canvas module. Each one of these is going to have a real short, okay, guys, here's what you're going to see from Julian. Here's what he's about to do. Now watch him do it. And then I think I just came up with this idea. You ever come up with ideas at 2 a.m? I keep this notepad next to my bed, and I woke up and I wrote down audio file march-alongs. I thought, what if each one of these had a half an hour Dr. Beat that got, maybe a couple different tempos, and it was my voice saying, okay, try that again. I don't know. Maybe it's a lot of work, but I think I can do it pretty easily. So
honestly, Jeff, I like the idea of even just an audio track that has his voice, like where he audio there so that the kids could follow along. And, it goes back to our, say it, show it, sample it thing.
Yeah.
So you tell them what they're going to do, you show them what it looks like. And then the sample part, is them videoing while that audio is going on. I think that would be something that would be really useful.
I'll let you know how that goes. If I'm like 24 hours in and I'm pulling my hair out, then I'll let you know. But actually, it's pretty easy. And there's free programs like Audacity that can create click tracks and GarageBand. I think I'm going to be able to do it pretty fast. So
Yeah. I think what I love about this is that, Jeff's look great. They really do. But you can do the exact same thing with your phone. It'd be even better if you could do two phones at the same time and have one doing your audio and one doing your video. And many of us have like an iPad or an iPhone and do them both at the same time. Just use like the voice memo and then do the other, and you can actually sync them together. But the real bottom line is if you get to a place where there's no wind, the lighting is pretty good, then you can create those in your backyard. You really can. And just getting them started. I think one of the things that Jeff kind of gets on to me about is I'm like, well, no, it has to look this way, or I want it to sound like this. And he's like, no, just put it out there and it'll help somebody. And then we can go back and redo it when we know more and can do better. It's like if you said, okay, I'm just going to create one exercise where it is how to stand at attention. How do we build that layered attention up? That right there is a great thing that I would love for my first year marchers to get to from their section leaders. Awesome.
Yeah, something comes to my mind all the time, and it's perfection is the enemy of getting things done. You can be paralyzed just sitting there going all of the things you want to do or you're gonna do, and you're like, if I only had this camera or that microphone or this lighting system. And so you don't go out and do it. But if you've been watching Some Good News with John Krasinski on YouTube, he's doing that with a ring light and two iPhones and iMovie.
Right.
It's not complicated, and everyone in the world is watching it. And AT&T is sponsoring his videos. It's not that complicated. But I do think it's important to stabilize video. Nobody wants to watch a video that's jumping around. I know for me, iPhones don't do this, but Windows phones, when you move them, they get this jello effect because they have this internal stabilization that's terrible. I don't know if you've ever seen this jello effect, but it makes you really dizzy. I think, a lot of, like, if I were to tap my screen here, you get the idea because webcams are good. But definitely stabilize your video. Definitely think about lighting. You don't want your subject with a big bright sun behind them. You won't be able to see what they're doing. Don't do 4K. You don't have that much storage space, and neither does the cloud, and it's not necessary.
No.
Landscape, not portrait. And the best thing you can do is upload it to YouTube and keep it private, because you can share that link with your director and it can't get screwed up. If you try to text somebody a video file, it degrades it to the point where you can't even watch it. Sometimes with email. Yeah. Google Drive works really well. Dropbox works really well. Uploading to YouTube works really well. Don't ever try to text or email a video file.
Well, I can tell you one of the things we're looking at is just making the entire marching band in a Google Classroom, which is a lot like Canvas. And so people can just upload really very quickly and make that go. Hey, so we're going to open up for questions right now. Jeff and I are actually going to go into another topic, but if you have any questions, just shoot those over to Anna and Audrey. They're going to be answering some of them, but then they'll also shoot some to us. That's a little bit of the how to create, just kind of a crash course in how to do. The next thing I want to talk with Jeff about is especially regarding student leadership. And Jeff, working with the Carmel Band, I think one of the questions that I know all of us out in the normal world would love to know is like, how do you approach leadership and student leadership in the Carmel Bands? Because it's such a large group. And I would say this, there's some things that Jeff and I have talked about where he would say it's not the ideal scenario. I think people think that everything's just, sunshine and roses right there. If you ever go to Carmel, you'll see if you come out of their band room to get to their practice field is a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually the hallway outside the band room has so many flagpoles in it, you can barely walk through there.
Right. So
it's not Shangri-La. It's awesome, but it's not perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what we adopted about 3 years ago, our leadership system is, so we take people who are seniors. If a section is really big, we'll probably usually stick to seniors. Okay. And we will say, okay, we're going to bring in 4 or 5 of these people, and we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to be like, okay, somebody has to be a visual tech. So we want to have 1 visual tech per 5 or 6 kids. We want to have a music tech per 5 or 6 kids. Somebody is usually the secretary who collects our coordinate sheets and hands out drill, that kind of thing. Somebody, I don't remember the other roles, but there's 1 or 2 other roles as well. And so what we'll do is we'll have a conversation with 4 or 5 trumpets we really trust in the seniors, and we'll be like, okay, who do you think is best suited to be music techs? And then if they say somebody and the directors are like, no, come back to the drawing board. And so it's more of a conversation. It's not just we are bestowing you as a music tech. And then we allow people, the students to say, I'd really like to be a visual tech. And then you talk to them about if that's appropriate for their skill set or not. And then maybe if there's a senior who's not really a great player or marcher, they have a different leadership role, and we give them something that they can do a really good job at, like collecting coordinate sheets and handing out drill and things like that. So we do that within each section. So that way I can say, okay, guys, Viz techs, take your small groups and go work on this one thing. And that happens. And when we're in sectionals, if it's a trumpet mellow sectional, Mr. Pope can say, okay, music techs, go to different parts of the school and work on these 8 bars and come back in 10 minutes. So that's how we do it.
I think what's interesting about that is it wasn't I think one of the mistakes that some student leaders make is in whatever year they decided they want to apply for leadership, they become aware of leadership. Whereas I think with what Jeff's saying, and I would tell you it's kind of the same with what we're doing at Wando, what you just did in that month of application or whatever is not that important as what you did the previous 2 years or the previous 3 years. Yeah. So as you go to, making some of those decisions, I would bet that some of you are going to apply for leadership and it may not work out for you. And we go quickly to don't like me, they don't whatever, but it more goes back to what did you do up to this point to make that go? Like, what were you doing last year? How did you react to criticism then?
It's that, but it's also in the science department, if we had 12 department chairs, what would that accomplish?
Right.
At some point you also have to realize just because you are a senior and a good kid doesn't mean you have to be in this leadership role to have a great time at marching band. I don't feel like I'm an inferior science teacher because I'm not department chair. I don't want to be department chair. I want to just focus on my job day to day. And there's a lot of students who, they need to hear from an adult, hey, you can do this thing leadership wise, but what I've seen from you over the last 3 years is that particular leadership position is probably not right for you at this time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had great leaders who are freshmen. Like you notice them right away. Tally is a great example. You've met Tally, and she's been one of our drum majors, and it was like she filled a hole in 8th grade, and in 9th grade I was like, she's going to be drum major as a sophomore. Right. And sure enough, she's going to be a 3-year drum major. We never have that at Carmel. And she can command that group. She says something and they sit up, and we've had seniors who say something to the group and they all roll their eyes.
So Jeff, that's a really great point. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but that's such a big deal. And I talk with my students about that, of how there's certain kids in our band that they can say something and nobody questions. They just do it. They may not like what it is that they're doing, but because he said it, because she said it, they do it without question. What are some of those qualities? What are some of those things that she brings to the table? And I've got some of my own here. I don't want to spend too long on this, but I think this is really important for kids who are saying, well, I want the people to listen to me, respect me. That's probably already started. Like that process has already begun. So
I could talk all day about Tally Duckworth is her name. And number one, her integrity is unmatched.
What do you mean by that? Yeah.
you could never go, I have a story about Tally and it's bad. You could
Yeah.
never say, I heard her talking about so-and-so behind their back and it was not very nice. You know, even all the way down to, you know, gossiping or social media presence, like there's no one could say Tally did this and that's not becoming of a drum major. That's number one. Number two, she gets stuff done. And
Yeah.
she does not have to be told how to do that. In fact, she'll be like, I don't understand why this Megavox isn't charging. So I went on YouTube and I studied a couple videos on Megavox problems, and I think this has a bad battery. Like,
Right.
what? You did what? Right?
You didn't just come to me and ask me how
Yeah,
to.
that's the kind of stuff that Tally does, and you know, when and she waits for the group to be quiet. She'll just like an adult director would do. She will just look around, eye contact, maybe do this. She'll wait, and then when everybody's quiet, she starts talking, and then after a while, they just get quiet when she's in front of them. And she can scold people and get away with it. And not a lot of seniors can do that. She can be like, you're out of line. That's not appropriate. You know, fix that. Yeah. So it's pretty, we've had a number of those over the years, but she's our current first round draft pick, I guess I would say.
Well, and I would say this, I think that for some of you, you're hearing that going, well, that's not me. I'm not perfect like that. No, nobody, I've had students when I talk to them about this concept, like, well, no one's perfect. That's not at all what we're saying.
Right.
It is being proactive, trying to take ownership of a job instead of, I must do this because my teacher has said it. It is, I must get this done because I want to get it right for these other people. You know, Taylor Watts was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said, it's all about how can I help people? You know, I was talking to a leader today who, she wrote me an email. She's been a leader for us, and she said, you know, I'm having really second thoughts on being a leader this next year. I think there's some younger people that are maybe a little bit better than I am, and maybe that's the right way to go. Or I'm feeling a little self-conscious about it. And what do I do? And I said, well, it comes down to this. Number one, question one, can I help people? Do I have the information to help others? Question number two is, can I communicate that information? Like, do I want to do that? If those questions are both yes, then you're kind of ready to go. But the third question, the most important one, is how do I do that best for them, is a big, big deal. And I think when you look at somebody like Tally, we look at some of those of you who are watching right now, you said, I really want to help people. I have information to share with them. So how do I best do that? Well, I finish the job. I get it done. I'm proactive. My integrity, my character is super high. Remember from our first step, content, character, communication. It really all just keeps coming back to those same three things over and over again. I know we're harping on that a little bit, but I would tell you that if you haven't done that before, you still can. Like, you can start right now.
You know, she's when we talk about integrity and character, sometimes it's just making a conscious choice not to do certain things. Like you would never see a teacher gossiping to a student about a student. It's just well, I hope you wouldn't, you know, that. And so, but right. Students do it all the time. They're like, did you hear about so-and-so? Did you blah, 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 right? But like, there's most teachers who are professional that, you know, they're like, oh, I can talk to my spouse or my friends about this, but I can't talk to a student about another student, right? And so I think a lot of people, when they get into that role, they just start making more adult decisions like that. They're like, oh, I am now section leader. I have to be above that somehow. I have to just say, I really don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Leave it at that.
Or I don't want to be in this place where something may be happening that I don't. And you could use that leadership thing as the excuse of like, hey, you know, I've got a lot of eyes on me. I can't be here. I can't do that. And use us directors as your excuse. Well, I didn't mean to go down that road too far, but man, I think that's such valuable information that if you're here, you're probably that person, because
Yeah.
it would be so easy to be like, hey, let's just, go watch Tiger King one more time, or let's go do, whatever. And boy, you're committed to coming and continuing through this process. So I know your bands are going to be better, and
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
again, can I help people? Do I have information to share? Do I want to do that? If those two are, you can be a leader. And the third question that comes out of that is, how do I do it? How do I help them
Yeah.
best?
I, I've had a lot of drum majors in the past know what they should be doing, but still need to be asked to do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, the proactive part of that is critical. Jump in there. I'd rather tell somebody, I don't want you helping with visual right now, than
Mm-hmm.
have them just stand there.
Right.
I would rather have somebody, say, we don't really need a Megavox for this rehearsal. I'd rather say that to them than be like, why do we not have a microphone?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always being two steps ahead of the people you're trying to help.
Right. And I can tell you the two folks that are here from Wando with us, and the other two that will be with us next week, they are very much like that. They know that that's kind of the job. And so, and I would tell you, and I don't know how it is for you, Jeff, but for our drum major auditions, we don't have a ton of kids come out because, number one, I know kids really love marching and performing, and I love that. But they know it's a big job. It's a
Yeah.
really big job. And at Carmel, I know it is for sure there. Met your
And
drum
then
majors a couple of weeks ago, all six of them.
I agree with that, but there's also always like one kid who comes in to drum major tryouts and you're like, huh, that I wouldn't have expected them to try out. And then
Good.
sometimes you're
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah. Where'd you come from?
that's inside of you. There it's like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Surprise me.
Yeah, all those. We've had plenty of quiet kids that will come into that, and I've even had some kids. I told the story about Matt Shermonte that he was not the best kid we ever had, but when he became the tenor saxophone section leader, he was so good at taking care of his section. They were his brothers and sisters, and he established that from the very beginning. And man, they just had an incredibly tight knit section. And they didn't get along with each other. These two didn't like each other. He didn't care. I don't always like my brothers. I can tell you that for a
Yeah.
fact. But we're still brothers, and we're still part of this family. And I think you have to really we talk about band being family. There's the good of that, and then there's the bad of that. There's man, that kid's really obnoxious, but he's in my section, so he's my brother or sister, and that's what it is.
And my
So
son Connor was not drum major and there was not really like a single section leader for the 50 trumpets that year, or
right.
whatever, 38 or whatever. But he took it on himself to be Mr. Freshman, taking the freshmen to lunch, bringing them back from lunch, making sure they have what they need, explaining things, going to their get-togethers. Like Connor took it on himself to be their upperclassman rock. And I
Right.
really thought that was awesome. He didn't feel like he had to be the music tech or the visual tech at every rehearsal talking the most. He befriended people and he made them feel like they should be there. And that was important.
While his dad was being the head visual tech.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, and I know your son really well. I think that speaks very highly of him a lot. So Jeff, let's change gears just a little bit.
Yes. Talk about my
Summer
camp. Yes.
Summer Symposium isn't happening, but something.
The huge smile on my
to...
face is acting, because I'm upset more than words that camp is not happening. I'm a little bit excited about what we're doing instead, for sure.
Yes.
But it is my favorite week of the entire year.
Yes.
It's not happening, and we all have a moment of silence for that and move on. But I think that what we're going to do, I just talked with the music arranger for the Carolina Crown Drum Bugle Corps, and we're going to release some music in June, and we're going to release that to students who signed up for camp. They're going to practice that. They're going to send us a recording of that, and we're going to have Carolina Crown do the same thing. And then we're going to have this mashup video like you've seen on Zoom with the different people coming in and out playing with our students, playing with the Carolina Crown students. Right now, it looks like we're going to have some breakout sessions where all of our trumpets will get to meet with a Carolina Crown trumpet player and talk with them and ask them questions. We're going to have Jordan. If those of you guys know Jordan Lalama, he's going to come on and teach some dance and body routine.
If you don't know Jordan, Jordan does a lot of work with Broken Arrow, does work with several groups in Indiana. I mean, groups all over the country. If you like the way that they move, Jordan usually has a hand in that.
Talk about student leadership. Jordan was one of my students when I was barely old enough to teach. And now I'm proud. He's all over the place doing that stuff.
Right.
It's really cool.
Yep.
So yeah, that's going to be our camp. We're going to have a music component, a visual component, a Carolina Crown component. It's just going to be an hour here and there. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow every student who signed up for camp beforehand to invite one of their friends from their band. And that's something I'm really excited about. So they can bring people along and experience that virtually with us.
Now, and Jeff, what cost for this? How much does it cost to be part of this camp?
0, as far as I know.
Correct. Well, we
Cecily, help! I don't know. I thought it was 0.
No, it is 0. It is very 0, and we're so excited by that. I can tell you, I've already started talking to our Wando band kids. Like, you better have your butts in those seats on your computer, because there's nowhere else that you can just find this many great people for free.
Yeah.
The Drum Major Institute will be online, virtual as well. Ours is going to be a little bit more concentrated, as in, instead of doing over a few weeks, we're going to do it all in 3. Yeah, I know, right? We're going to do it 3 days, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It'll be where the camp was set originally, which is that 3rd week in June. So it's around the 20s there. And we're going to have a couple of hours in the morning. Taylor will be there doing the warm up like he always does at our camp. Taylor Watts, you all met a few episodes ago. We'll be doing a conducting component where I'm going to do some work. Koji Mori's going to do some work. Chris Cates, who is Doctor of Conducting from Northwestern University,
nice.
Now teaches in Texas. It's not going to be bad at all. They're going to be doing conducting modules, we call them, through there. And we'll actually do those pretty live. So like, I'll be teaching one, and just like our drum majors have been doing the questions here, we're going to have it so that people can ask us questions directly there and have our staff actually answer that. And when we release the staff, I think you'll be pretty well pleased. Then one of the other cool things that we have is these breakout rooms, so that you can go with other students, and our swags will actually be there. So any of you who got to work with our swags from last year, they're going to be there with us to help work in those rooms as the staff. So you'll probably be working with about, say, 15, 20 to 1 of those, where you can really kind of break down. The idea is to do about 30 minutes of instruction like this, and then say, okay, the next 20 minutes is in your small groups, like what we would have done squads before. They'll be a little bit bigger, more like 20 or in a room, and you'll go and work, and then you come back and we go to another module. We'll be doing leadership. We'll be doing score study, which I know is a thing that I think helps separate us out from some other places, because it's great to have all this information, but if you don't understand how the music works, you don't understand how the music works, and you can't show it in the best way. So we have, salute module that we're going to do. We have all this stuff. It's going to be organized on Facebook groups, which is not maybe everybody's favorite, but it actually translates really quickly over to Instagram as well. So you'll be able to catch up and watch things. We'll be doing live, and we'll be doing some things that are, here's some videos that you do. Our schedule looks like it'll be a couple of hours in the morning, pretty live. Then the afternoon, we'll have an hour of like, here are about 4 videos for you to explore. Go check those out and see what you think. It just solidifies what we did in the morning. And then we'll be doing score study for a little bit. And then we do our choose your own adventure, which is each of us picking a topic, and you can go into that Zoom room with those teachers and, talk specifically about, like, how do I audition for drum corps next year? How do I audition for college? If I want to be a music major, what do I do? Conflict management, just all kinds of things. We have about 12 staff members that'll be with us there. And we're really excited. We want drum majors. We want anybody who wants to ever be a drum major. We want people who like conducting and maybe aren't a drum major, but we want you to come and bring everybody. I think with Jeff, you guys have a little bit of a cap. Is that right, Jeff? You're going to have a certain number that you're going to have to be able to stick with. Is that right?
Yes, we're still working on that. So if that's something that your friends are interested in, make sure that they sign up for that quickly. You know, I'm looking
I think
at,
that's going to close fast.
40 attendees. I'm looking at all their names. I always like to look at the names that are in these calls and just remember that each of you is important and special. And, you know, just taking the time out to do this today sets you apart from 90% of the other students in your school. And I really appreciate you being here and giving us the time to talk to you. If you have somebody who you think would benefit from, you know, getting to play some music with the Crown members, tell them about it. Spread the word.
I love that many of you are saying, well, how do we sign up for this? How do we do this? And we just wanted to kind of give you, because you have stuck with this and you've been with us maybe for many episodes, we wanted to give you, we kind of teased it a little bit last time, but we wanted to give you really specific details about what we're going to be doing now, because you're the ones that have stuck with it. And you're the ones who we want to make sure you have the first right of refusal to come and be a part of this. So you're going to see this coming out. And I would bet that maybe Cecily might even send it to our people who have registered for our class, maybe a little than she's nodding her head yes. So you'll get a little bit of a head. And what's cool about this, you should know, let's pretend that you're like, oh man, that DMI thing sounds cool, but that marching band thing sounds cool too. Guess what you can do now? You can actually sign up for both.
This is the one year you can do both camps.
And somebody had asked, are they going to do other portions of the camp, like music production and jazz? And the answer to that is yes, there are. The music production.
Yes. I don't know that they're doing jazz.
Oh, I
could be
the thing
wrong.
About the music.
Oh, Cecily? Yes?
Yeah,
no?
pick me. So we're developing with some of the other divisions right now. It's just kind of little bite-sized chunks of everything. But if you guys go on to education.musicforall.org after June 1st, we're kind of kicking everything off. All of our summer resources, we're calling it Summer Sessions and Leadership Lessons from the Summer Symposium, that you'll be able to go online at education.musicforall.org and sign up for all of this stuff. The best thing about it too is it's just going to live on our education site. So say you're not one of the few that are able to get into the marching band stuff, you can still play along at home after the fact or after all of this stuff is completed, because it'll still live online until the end of the summer.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. The music production thing sounded really cool. That's what Christoph was looking at doing. And he's basically doing a summer class and just inviting high school students to come and do that with them, which I got to tell you, if you're at all interested in that, that's huge, because he does some crazy good stuff. And again, if you're like, hey, I like all three of those things, come on. I know they're looking at a composition piece with this, with your old band director, Mr. Young. Who was your old
Richard Salcedo?
There we go. Right? Absolutely.
He's a rock star.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you want to know about composition, that's a great person to start with, for sure.
Can I tell a quick story about him?
Oh, please.
So when he left Carmel High School and retired from Carmel High School, he was he had been writing for Hal Leonard for some time, and most of the students who are in on this call right now have played one of his pieces, I'm positive, at one time or another. But so I went into his office, and he was on a big deadline for Hal Leonard, and spread out on his desk were 3 composition textbooks. And I was like, wow, what do you need that for? And he goes, what do you mean? I'm constantly referring to these different parts of composition and this technique and that technique and this range of that instrument and how these chords interact. And it was a great reminder to me that, even well into his successful writing career, he was still learning. He was still a lifelong learner. And that's great advice for everybody. Right.
We're so excited that you have stuck with us and came to. So if you're like, gosh, I want to know more about this, we know you do. But we wanted to give it to you first. We've told people, hey, make sure you come and keep checking out our shows, and you did. So you're going to have a heads up on, hey, okay, June 1st. And of course, we'll be sending out some things with that. Maybe I can talk Cecily into sending out something a little early to those of you who are in our registered portion there too. So yeah, she's saying yes. So hopefully we can take care of you with that. If there are any other questions for Jeff, either about Carmel or about video production or any of those things, I can tell you that you can actually find him online. The Dynamic Marching site, please do that out. I'm part of that now, but I remember when I wasn't, and it was so incredible. I just learned, I learned how to teach marching through that website, and I wanted to meet this guy before I ever met this guy. He's one of the best people on the planet, and as far as like good heart, strong morals, good Christian man, like he's all those things, and he's one of my best friends ever. But the thing for you is that if you send him an email, you can contact us both at Dynamic Marching. It's just our first names, Jeff at Dynamic, Bobby at Dynamic Marching. And if you have any questions about some of those things, we're happy to give you some thoughts or some resources that will help answer some questions. Again, we're not looking to try and make a bunch of money. We're already independently wealthy teachers.
Remember that podcast we did last year on So You Want to Be a Visual Tech or a Music Tech?
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good one for young teachers to listen to on that band life. Some of the other stuff is
so if you,
a little old for them on the podcast, but that particular one, I sent it out to a couple of young college students this week and said, hey, I know you're looking to be a staff member somewhere when all this opens up. Listen to this. So, yeah.
Right. So I think it's around episode 20. It's in the 20s, if my memory serves right. It's there. So you can go on Apple, on iTunes or whatever, find that one about So You Want to be, I think it's called So You Want to Be a Visual Tech.
Yeah.
And that's a great one to start looking at and to try and make some things go. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being here. We've talked to reach you.
Absolutely.
Always great information that you're going to do. And do check out that marching clinic when that comes out the 1st of June. So just a couple of weeks, but start talking with your friends about it. Start talking to them about the Drum Major Institute, especially you who maybe are drum majors already. Help to find your successor. Find great young people who need to go through this process before they even think about going through the audition. We'll be starting kind of at ground zero, but we're going to go really fast and give you all the information. Take you a while to process, but it's going to be some really good stuff. I'm so excited. We spent 2 nights working on it. We'll spend 2 more next week trying to get it all together. But the way it's already starting to unfold is really exciting. And I know, Jeff, can you tell some of the people that you have working with you as part of the staff? I think that would be important real quickly. You have some pretty impressive band directors.
Yeah, actually, one of them got married today. Avius Jackson got married today.
Oh, that's
He's
right.
From Mason, Ohio. So that's exciting. We have 2 staff members from Brownsburg High School in Indianapolis area. We have Center Grove High School. We have Avon High School. We have a private lesson teacher from the Atlanta area, from Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, all over the country. It's really cool. We have very diverse staff and very talented staff from, if you look at the top 12 of BOA from the last number of years, Wando's been in there. We have a staff member from Wando. Carmel's been in there. Center Grove. We have staff members from all those places. So you're getting the same instruction that these incredible programs are getting. It's awesome.
Right. I would say the same thing with DMI. You've got, especially just if you look at some of the colleges and drum corps, our staff has been part of Phantom, Cavaliers, just all over the place. Santa Clara.
We have a Santa Clara and a Blue Devil staff member. Right.
Well, Clark is Blue Devil, so I think you have multiple maybe. So we didn't, and I'll go ahead and say this. Maybe I shouldn't be sharing this. Nobody's getting paid anything to do this.
Right.
Everybody that we asked was like, okay, there's nothing to offer. And not one person even hesitated and said, absolutely, I want to do this for young people and for the folks that are tuned in here, because you're the ones that are really fighting the good fight and trying to make sure that bands stay alive and well in your places. And we want you to know that we appreciate that a ton. Sometimes maybe some people around you don't as much, but we really appreciate what you're doing. and that making sure that my kid can still have band is a pretty big deal. So I personally appreciate your sticking with us and coming back for more and more information. I hope we can make sure that we make it always beneficial. With that, Jeff, do you have anything else that you wanted to close with?
I just, again, each of you who are here is special in your own way. And I really do believe that the fact that you're here puts you in an elite group. Especially if you're paying attention and if you care as much as I think you care, you're going to do great things. We're going to look 20 years from now at, just a quick story. When I was at Notre Dame, I barely got into Notre Dame. I felt like high school was pretty easy. I did pretty well. When I got there, I was like, man, this is hard. And then I was in the Notre Dame marching band, and I'm like, this is hard. This is not like competitive hard, but just like another extracurricular. And one time we were having a really terrible rehearsal, and I remember our band director stopped us. He said, why don't you practice? Like, this is not okay. And he goes, how many of you were drum major of your high school band? And I kid you not, 2/3 of the room raised their hand. And so we're at this elite university at the marching band, and 2/3 of them were a drum major of their high school band. And he's like, now you're just among people who are just like you. You have to work harder,
That's right.
And that really spurred me on to be like, oh, I'm not number one in my marching band class anymore. Now I got to rise to the top in a different way. And I think we just keep taking the lessons that we learned from being drum majors and section leaders, and we keep applying them to different situations, and it's really going to take you places.
Absolutely. You are the best of the best, and it's really exciting to be a part of that too. So thank you, Jeff, for being here with us. Thanks for having me on. It's great stuff. Great stuff. Cecily, thank you for always making this work for us and doing wonderful stuff. Thank you for all that you do. She's doing all kinds of things that I don't even understand with this media stuff and all that. And like, your band director is probably getting information, but Cecily knows how to make it go. So thank you, Cecily, for doing that. And then Audrey, thank you, my friends, for being here. I hope your AP exams have gone well. I'm sure. And Audrey, I know you had, I think, some final stuff this week. So yeah, right on. And Audrey, thank you for being here with us. Next week, we'll be back. We'll actually have a little bit more information about the summer camp. It'll be a conducting episode this next time. Plus, we'll do a special highlight on salutes. I've got Stephanie Grody, who's done, I think she's the first female drum major of Santa Clara Vanguard in 50 years. And she's just fantastic. And she's got some great information for you as far as salutes go. So we'll be doing that, talking a little more about. Is it required
in Kentucky to have a 20 count salute? Is it in Kentucky? Is that required?
We don't talk about that, Jeff. We don't talk about. I'm surprised you didn't use North Carolina, because I think sometimes you forget where.
When you're in Indiana, you poke fun at Kentucky. When you're in Kentucky, you poke fun at Tennessee. It's all over the place. But no, it's all in good fun.
South Carolina, we're like, wait, we don't poke fun of anybody. That means they're all poking fun.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. And remember, we're on Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern time next week. We'll see you then. Take care, everyone. All the best.
See you, everybody. Stay safe.